The Media Dialogues, Vision 2020.
This week on social media, you may have noticed that hashtag Come On Netflix. It preceded the news of the streaming giant's latest content slate. Streaming services or OTT platforms have reaped a rich harvest of subscribers, viewership and content since the COVID-19 lockdown started. They've managed to fill that deep and wide hole left by the lack of live sports, movie theatres and fresh TV content. They've done it with a deluge of stuff thanks both to existing players as well as new launches like Disney+. On the Media Dialogues today, we're going to deep dive into this space via one of the most prominent players. Netflix launched in India in 2016 and has since its first original, The Sacred Games, released a bunch of movies and shows. There are 17 new titles in its latest lineup, including acquisitions. It will have spent 3,000 crore rupees between 2019 and 2021 to produce Indian content. To find out more, let's talk to Monika Shergill, Vice President Content at Netflix India, and see how they're doing. Monika, it's good to have you join us. Thank you.
Likewise, Anuradha. Lovely to be here with you.
Let's start with what you must be so excited about as a content creator, and that is the new slate that you've got lined up for Netflix subscribers.
You're right. We are really, as a whole team at Netflix India, we are very, very excited to bring this entire lineup for our members and for all the consumers out there. All these titles actually have been very, very carefully curated, created, and, from different genres to formats. We have something for everyone.
So when does it land? I mean, when I turn on the service today, will I see any of these 17 new titles or do I have to wait? Because I'm really wanting to see A Suitable Boy.
I can understand. I'm also really waiting to see it on Netflix. Basically, all these titles are planned to roll out in the next few days to weeks and a few months, along the way. And that's how, because there are, as you know, Netflix is a full-scale service. So we have a lot of big global titles coming, and we have a lot of big, as we've announced, the Indian titles. It's a very, very action-packed few months on the service, and you will get to know, very soon. I mean, all of it will start within a few days.
What is interesting is in the past 3.5 months, ever since COVID-19 entered our lives and gave us this never before experience, upended our worlds, we've seen different businesses impacted differently. The economy on the whole is hurting. Traditional media is really hurting. But OTT platforms or streaming services have had a very different experience of the lockdown in terms of consumption and in terms of subscriptions. Is that a fair assessment?
Actually, that is a fair assessment to a point. I also feel, Anuradha, there's a slightly different dimension or a nuance that I would like to put to it.
Sure.
We, honestly, at Netflix, we really feel fortunate that we've been able to be present in a meaningful way. As a service, it's really about being able to bring some amount of comfort during such a tough time. Confinement has not been easy for people. And just be there as a storytelling platform, a service that can connect people through what people see, a lot of people are watching new kind of content that they are learning from, that is emotionally connecting them, whether it's different cultural stories or it's just to distract themselves from the mood of the hour. So I feel that there is a temporary surge, and I would really like to, say that because of the time people have. And I think from the long-term point of view, the good thing is because there is an upside to it also, which is that a new taste and a habit is being cultivated for people who were not experimenting with streaming earlier. And yes, I understand that a lot of businesses are actually impacted. So in that sense, we are extremely humbled.
Having said that, you have been affected. I'm guessing that productions have got delayed, new productions have got postponed, that development is taking place, but it is all, remote, Zoom calls, etc. Give us a sense of the impact it has had on the pipeline that you have.
Media and entertainment sector, as you know very well, contributes so much to the economy, to the livelihoods of all the talent, crews, daily wage earners, everybody. So yes, when productions stop, whether it's in India or globally, whether it's Netflix or any other entertainment services and mediums also, I would say, including what's happened to television, as you earlier said, and cinema and streaming services. So yes, it has impacted everyone. What we have done are two things actually. One is that we were very, very clear at the start of, this pandemic, and when shutdown on production happened, we wanted to contribute in whichever way we could. So we set aside a hardship fund, which was at a global level.
Yes.
And from at an India level, we, shared, we got a hardship fund for the Producers Guild of India, plus all our productions which were in action, which we had to stop. So all those crews, we decided to, for a period of 4 to 5 weeks, to keep them going, to keep, funds aside for the daily wage earners, the people who are the hardest hit.
Yes.
So that is one thing we did. And the second thing which we have done is that we've not stopped the creative process. So the process of identifying stories, of keeping our project teams going, of keeping all the films and series conversations, writers' rooms, like I said, table reads, everything has been going on. In fact, if I were to share with you on a few projects, one has attempted to do some virtual recce's so that we can start as soon as possible.
When does that as soon as possible seem to be in terms of a date or a time, if you were to put a month to it?
Actually, it's very difficult, Anuradha. If you ask me if things were safe and one could start with enough care and caution, I'm sure everybody, not just Netflix teams, but everybody would love to start soonest. But I do feel, that the situation is evolving. Every day it's something new. And if you look across, even for countries which had managed to control the numbers, there's, been not so great news coming every other day.
Yes.
So I think, and also production is a very, very high touch medium. Yeah, we are all, and the kind of content that we create for streaming services, these are very large crews. There is all kinds of complex scenes, there are crowd scenes, there is action, there is, drama at close quarters. So it's very difficult to really, be able to say when it would be safe to go in India particularly. We are just waiting and watching and working with all the
industry bodies and the Producers Guild,
yes,
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We are all in conversations, and even the government is coming out with guidelines every, every month. So we are just, we are very confident that, whenever we start, we are going to make sure that it's safe and secure for everyone.
But as of today, which is mid-July, you don't feel confident of putting a month to when a production could resume?
No, actually, we were initially thinking that we would be out of the woods in about 3 months. I think everyone thought that.
Yeah.
And then it stretched. I mean, you know about this more than me, Anuradha, what the news is and what is it like on the ground. So I think we'll just, from our end, what we are doing is that we are very ready to go back on the floors. Talent is ready to go, crews are ready to go. It's just that it has to be safe for everyone, and that's priority.
Sure. So, Monika, the 17 titles that you've announced this week, what happens after those land on the service? I'm talking in terms of a production pipeline, because if this is the scenario mid-2020, it means that by mid-2021, you may not have any new content or original content to bring onto the service. Is that a fair assessment? Because a lot of people seem to suggest that 2021 may not see any new content.
wouldn't say that it won't see any new content. There'll definitely be new content. So I can speak from Netflix's
Yes.
perspective. Our across different countries, a lot of our productions have gone back into action. So that is something very good for us, particularly because and also, as you know, Netflix has a huge pipeline. We work
Yes.
in advance at a global level, which is why even during this period, if you've seen, there were many new things coming every week and something new coming almost every day. So that is something which we've maintained on the service, and we are very, very proud of doing that, because so many of our teams across the globe, Anuradha, have been working tirelessly. They've been doing post from home, animation is happening. So many of our people have all adjusted to remote working to just keep the wheels turning, like I said. And productions are getting back now in many of the countries. So that is one. And also, what we've noticed is in the last 3 months, there has been a huge amount of discovery and consumption of our global titles, both
Yeah.
in English and in Hindi. I'm actually very excited to share with you that Extraction, which has been such a big title in the last 3 months, and Old Guard also, which has just launched. Money Heist did so well, Witcher did so well, and a lot of these titles have actually been seen by a new set of consumers and members in Hindi. So
Okay.
that's a great thing for us. So the value of our service extends beyond the original language that it is in. And from an India perspective, if I were to just share, there is this exciting lineup of 17 that we've got, and there is also more content which is being worked upon in post. And I'm really hoping that, once production opens up, we are able to finish off the balance work on some of the titles where productions had stalled. So I'm just hoping that we are able to keep the stories coming.
Keep the flow going.
Yes.
Monica, let's quickly talk about what we've seen as a new coping mechanism by film producers to COVID-19 and the lockdown and the closure of multiplexes. Many producers are making a beeline to OTT and streaming services to premiere their movies because they're not sure whether they can hold on for that long for a theatrical release. What is the kind of pressure this has put, or how has it changed the approach to film acquisition in India, even if it is in the short term? The fact that these movies are suddenly available for premiering, the fact that there are other players and competitors with deep pockets, what is it doing to values, and what is it doing to your acquisition strategy?
I wouldn't say, Anuradha, that it's put a pressure, because, if you look, all the Pay One titles after the theatricals, the Pay One movies, the biggest of Pay One movies have found a home on different services, on Netflix and on other home entertainment services also. So everyone's had their fair share of movies coming to them as Pay One. And now, when some of these films are awaiting a release, everyone has gone out and picked the kind of stories and the films that work for their service. So for Netflix, when you look at these titles that are coming for us, stories like Gunjan, Ludo, Dolly Kitty, Raat, they make a lot of sense for our platform. They are very, very exciting stories that, fundamentally, as a package, we are very happy to bring to our members. So yes, everyone. More titles have been there to come on the services, and it's just made the conversations and the ability to tell these stories at this time a little more sort of urgent. But I think it's everyone's gone and found what works for them best.
Is it a diplomatic way of saying that you've not got some things that you wanted?
Something, Anuradha, I should tell you, there is more drama being imagined there than it exists. Really, I'm telling you. Honestly, because also I'll tell you, a lot of the films that everybody has have been films that were already with each of us as our license slate.
Sure.
And so it is also about bringing them on direct to service now, because this period of waiting is long.
Right.
So many of the titles for each of the services is that. So
That's
actually
true.
there
Yeah.
hasn't been as much drama.
Okay. All right. We'll take
Sorry
your
to
word for it.
disappoint you. Sorry to disappoint you with this one, but I'm very sure the slate is not going to disappoint you.
We looked at these 17 titles, and what is interesting to see is that almost everything, 100% of what is lined up there is Hindi content, isn't it? When you look at your commissioning choices over the last couple of years, do you feel somewhere that regional content, different languages, whether it's Bengali or Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, that Marathi, that, a lot of very, very vibrant regional film and content industries have not got reflected in Netflix? Do you think that's a lack somewhere in your portfolio?
I think we've had some very, very good regional titles, and they've recently done very well on the service. So we've had Telugu titles, Tamil titles doing very well. And but having said that, I do agree with you that we've been a little slow on that. But that is not, going to be, the way forward. We are very clear that it's important for us to get interesting, language titles, and we are a service for everyone. And just like we keep emphasizing that we are a service, we are a multi-title service, we are there for every mood, for different tastes that people may have. The same way, I think from a language perspective also, we have many, many languages on the service. And I'm sure if you go looking for them, like for people who know, they're looking for Tamil titles, Telugu, Malayalam, Marathi, they will find those titles, and we will be adding more.
So let's look now at something that has made headlines where streaming services and OTT platforms are concerned, and that is the need for self-regulation. Now, over the years that we've had streamers in India, there has been this kind of, constant conversation about how there's more freedom to tell stories, there are more kinds of stories that can be told, and much, much more creative license that is possible or that's taken. This conversation about self-regulation, where are you at, given that Netflix is not a part of the Digital Content Complaint Council?
I think you're right, Anuradha. The one thing which is really valuable for streaming services is the ability to tell stories, and bring the creators' visions to life with a lot of freedom. And I think consumers also appreciate the choice and control, that they have in terms of the kind of stories that can be told. Because otherwise, when you look at the one-to-many mediums, both television and cinema have been one-to-many mediums, and streaming has the opportunity to be a one-to-one medium and a one-to-many medium. Co-viewing goes with individual tastes here.
Yes.
So I think from that perspective, it's really the kind of freedom and flexibility to be able to reflect so many different kinds of lives and stories and characters on screen is, I think, the beauty of streaming. So from a regulation perspective, where Netflix stands, we have been very responsible in terms of, how we've gone about signing up for a set of best practices very early on. Where we clearly sort of we put the age rating, maturity rating on our content. We are very clear about the synopsis. In fact, if you go on the service, you'll see the Netflix details, about every title, about the trailers, etc., is very, very clear. So that it's a subscription based video on demand service. You have a pull mechanism. So in that perspective, the consumer's freedom and their ability to work with maximum information and choose what's best for themselves and their families is something that we are very, very clear about. Having said that, currently, like you rightly said, there are conversations going on And what we are doing is we are working with all our industry peers, all the industry bodies, all our other entertainment streaming services.
Sure.
So all of us are working together and working with the government to really come up with a sort of a set of guiding principles, rather, where we are very conscious that we maintain the artistic freedom, and we also give that choice and control to the consumer. And I think all of us are responsible. We are very mindful of how we bring the content out, and that's what we are all doing together.
So does that mean that you all will join this DCCC?
These are conversations that are happening, Anuradha. There are many, many different kinds of conversations. So there isn't one specific kind of conversation. We are all working together. In fact, I should tell you, across bodies, there is the same conversation in the CII body, in the IAMAI body,
Yes.
many other forums. These conversations are happening. They're happening very responsibly. And I also, would like to add one more thing, which we generally tend to miss, which is that the creators are a very, very important part of this whole thing.
So, Monika, the interesting thing is that, of course, this is a very, very complex process. This is not something that can be done quickly. I get that. But given that the government and senior ministers are talking about this, recently we had the chairman of the CBFC, Prasun Joshi, write about this. These are all thought leaders in this industry. What I'm trying to get at is that if you all don't put a timeline to it as an industry and evolve something that works and shows that it is working, you will have attempts of government mandated regulation, which the government itself tends to say that it is not interested in doing. It supports self-regulation. So do you feel that there needs to be a time put to this conversation, given how complex it is and how tricky it is to find that balance between what a society feels comfortable with, or an audience feels comfortable with, given that audiences are so diverse, and on the other hand, the creativity in really telling stories?
You used a word, Anuradha, which I think is at the heart of this whole conversation and this debate, which is diversity. I think it's so important for us to celebrate the diversity of stories, of choices, and really, having group tastes determine what people should be watching, should not be watching, is something which is truly to be avoided. And that is why I feel that, yes, while you're right that time is important, you're also right that it's a complex conversation, and we'd rather, take a little longer and come to, a sort of an understanding that we are looking at choice and freedom, and we are valuing that while being responsible. So I think time, more than time, I would say, coming to the right understanding is what all of us are trying. There are many stakeholders in this, as you are sensitive about. So I would feel that rather than rushing it, and I think the government also understands, and I'm very positive that we are a multicultural society. We have so many nuances to everything. I'm very confident that we'll all arrive in good time, in the right kind of time, to what those set of best practices are.
Monika, I wish you all good luck with that, and good luck to you and your entire team at Netflix India through these really unusual times that we are living through. Good luck, stay safe. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely chatting with you, Anuradha. Take care. Stay safe.
And thank you very much for watching. Do join us again soon for another deep dive on the media dialogues. And in the meanwhile, stay tuned to CNBC TV 18.